We're starting on 4.3 today, which is called solving two-step equations. We'll talk about that here in just a minute, but first I want you to go ahead and glance at that blue paper that I gave to you. It's talking about words into math. Whenever you see these kind of words right here, add, sum, increase by, together, more, plus, and, that means you're going to use what sign, class? An addition sign, okay? Going on to the next one, these words over here you're going to use them whenever there's a what kind of sign? A subtraction sign, okay? Read to me what words you see here for the multiplication signs. Okay, so when you see those, you know you're going to multiply. And then there's some words over here, per, quotient, share, divided by, and ratio. Those will be different words that we use whenever we are dividing things. Then you can see toward the bottom of your paper, there's some different things that we've got for is, are, gives, were, totals. These are all going to be equals, okay? One thing, we're going to not talk about this right here. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but I want you to focus on this very bottom thing it says down here. Anytime you see the words a number, what is a number going to equal, class?
A variable.
A variable. Okay, so now you guys have a quiz coming up on Wednesday, and these kind of things are going to be on it. So let's just read from left to right. This is asking us to come up with an equation from these words. It says 5 plus a number x is 20. So we're going to rewrite that. So first up, you're just reading from left to right. I'm going to start with my first number, 5. What does this mean, class? An add. So I'm going to put plus, and then it says a number x. So what am I going to write?
15.
I'm just going to put an x. What does this word mean?
Equals.
Equals, and then what? 20. So that's it. All it asked us to do, it didn't even ask us to solve it. It just simply said, write the word sentence as an equation. Is there anyone who would like to do this second one for us? It says, the difference of a number m and 4 is -2. Javaria, try it for us. What does the difference mean? To subtract. So I'm going to go ahead and put a subtraction sign. And now we've got a number m. So we're reading from left to right. Do you think that the m should go over here or on the right-hand side? It's going to go all the way on the left because we read from left to right. So I'm going to go ahead and put an m. Minus, what do you think should come next, Javaria? 4. Good job, because that's it right there. And then what else should I do? What does is stand for? Equals. Good job. That's another way to say equals. And what does it equal, Javaria? -2 is correct. We'll box it in. Is there anyone who would like to do the final one for me? Let me have Hunter. A number divided by 2 equals 5. Does it tell me specifically what number to put there?
No.
No. So we know you can use any variable you want. What variable do you want to use? Okay, he wants to use x. Now, whenever it says divided by, we're going to go ahead and use a fraction bar. So go ahead and, Hunter, help us with what we should do.
So it's x over 2, and then you do equals 5.
Fantastic. All right, so that's how we can use these words into math to help us to write equations. We learned last week how to solve one-step equations, but today we're going to move on and we're going to do two-step equations. So the first thing that you want to do, you've got to know we're going to add or what? Subtract. Then it tells us, keyword here, then we will multiply or divide. So here's one thing I want you to know. Never move the number that is attached to the variable first. So let's look at this example that I have down here. Which number on the left side where the x is attached to the variable? Janet. The 3 is, okay? So here's what I want you to do. I want you to think of these guys right here like best friends. Because they are attached together. Look, the +6, it's not attached to them. But there, the 3 is attached, so we're going to leave that there as long as we can, and the first thing we would do was get rid of the +6. Do you guys remember, how do I get rid of something? Okay, I'm going to use the opposite, which is called inverse operations. This is asking us to solve the equation, then check our solution. On the left-hand side, what two things are not allowing the variable to be alone? Class? Multiply by 2, add by 6. Oh, sorry, by 12. What one is attached together?
2.
The 2 and the x, okay? Those are best friends. You can draw a little heart around it to let you know. Don't touch it yet. What should I touch first? Add by 12. What's the opposite of add by 12?
Subtract by 12.
Subtract by 12. Class, what you do to one side? You have to be fair and do it to the other. So on the left-hand side, we have plus 12 and minus 12. Those are going to kind of cancel out. What drops down on the left of my equal sign? 2x. Drop down your equal sign. Then we're going to look over here on the right side. Same sign, add and keep, different signs, subtract and take. What's 4 minus 12?
-8.
-8 is correct. Okay, am I finished now?
No.
No, as you can see here, there is still something attached to the variable. So x is not by itself. What does that 2 right there tell me it's doing to itself? Okay, multiply by 2. How do I get rid of multiply by 2?
Divide by 2.
Divide by 2, because that's the opposite of multiply. So remember, you got to do inverse operations. We have to divide. What is 2x divided by 2?
0.
Not 0. 1, and then I'm left with plain old x. So 1x equals, and then over here, I've got different rules when I divide. There's only one negative number. That's an odd number. So is my answer going to be positive or negative?
Negative.
It will be negative. So what is -8 divided by 2?
-4.
-4. That is your correct answer. Am I finished?
No. Yeah.
It tells me you have to check your solution. We came up with the solution, x equals -4, but let's figure out if that's correct or not. In order to do that, first thing you want to do, go ahead and write your equal sign, and we're going to take our original problem and drop it down over here. Remember, all you're doing is rewriting it down there. Now, do I know what x is, class?
Yes.
I do. Alexis, what is x? Okay, so should I just erase this and just stick -4 there? Alexis, what should I do? I've got to put parentheses there because that helps me to know and understand that I am multiplying by something there. Now, let's go ahead and drop down our equal sign. As you can see, there's no work that I need to do here with that, so I'm just going to drop down the 4 directly right there. But there is some work that needs to be done over here on the left-hand side. So let's just work from left to right. The first thing, Madison, what is 2 times -4? -8, good job, and then drop down plus 12. All right, I'm still not finished yet, so I'm going to drop down my equal sign. Once again, there's nothing to do here, so I'm just going to drop down the 4. And on the left-hand side, same sign or different sign?
Different.
Subtract and take. What is -8 plus 12?
4.
4 is correct. Class, does 4 equal 4?
Yes.
Yes, give yourself a mini check mark, and you know that it did check out. So here we go on problem B. Brody, identify the variable. X. There are 2 things that are not allowing this x to be alone. What are they? What does that -3 right there mean? Am I adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing it? Okay, a lot of people will say, I see there's a negative here, so I am just subtracting it. However, there's something I've taught you. Anytime you have a number next to a letter, what does that mean we're doing to it? We are multiplying. So that means multiply by -3, okay? So multiply by -3 is not allowing it to be alone. What else is not allowing it to be alone, Brody? Plus 5, very good. So which one should we get rid of first? The multiply by -3 or the add by 5? Good job, because the rules say we always add or subtract first, okay? And then something that's helpful sometimes to remember is these guys are connected because they're side by side. They're best friends. Leave them alone. Don't touch them, okay? Brody, how do I get rid of plus 5? I make a -5. And class, what you do to one side, you've got to be fair and do it to the other side. So drop down that equal sign. Let's work from left to right. Class, 2 minus 5. Same sign or different sign? Different sign. Subtract and take. What do you get? -3. On the right-hand side, Brody, what happens to my plus 5 minus 5? It cancels out. They equal 0. And what should I drop down on that side? -3x. Thank you for remembering to bring the -3x with it. Okay, now Brody, is my x all alone now?
No.
It is not. What is still there not allowing it to be alone? What about the -3? No. Whenever a -3 is next to a letter, what operation is it? Is it telling me to add, subtract, multiply, or divide if it's right next to the variable? Multiply. So what's the opposite of multiply by -3? Divide by, not 3, -3. Whatever number you see there to start with, so since this right here was attached, you will divide by the same exact number that's attached there, okay? So what should I also do to the other side, Brody? Divide by -3. Okay, so remember, any number that is divided by itself always equals, not 0, it equals 1, okay? So what happens to this -3 divided by -3x? It cancels out and it just becomes a 1x, okay, which you can just put an x. What about on this side over here? -3 divided by -3 equals 1. Okay, and a lot of times we like to have that variable first, so we're just going to switch it. X equals 1. Go ahead and box it in. All right, we're going to check it real quick. So drop down your equal sign. 2 equals -3x plus 5. Who wants to check it for me? Taylor, go ahead.
So you need to multiply it, but instead, so you need to multiply -3 times 1.
You are correct. We're going to plug in a 1 instead, and we'll multiply it there. So now let's just drop down our equal sign, bring down the 2. Taylor, working from left to right on the right-hand side, what is -3 times 1? Good job. And then we're going to drop down our plus 5. There is no work to do over here on the left of the equal sign, so I'm just going to drop it down. And Taylor, what is -3 plus 5? 2 is correct. Give yourself a check mark because it did check out. All right, let's look at the next problem. Just the girls. Identify the variable. M. What is not allowing the M to be alone, girls? Divide by 2 and add by 6. Which one should I get rid of first?
Add by 6.
Add by 6. Good job. Now look, these ones right here, the divide by 2 is attached to the variable. Remember, think of it like best friends. Leave it alone. And let's get rid of the plus 6 first. Nikki, how do I get rid of plus 6? How do I get rid of plus 6? You subtract 6. What you do to one side, you got to do to the other one. Ayana, what comes down on the left-hand side? M. What's M2? What does that fraction bar, what's that mean? Divide by 2. Good job. So we're going to drop down M divide by 2. And then Esteban, 10 minus 6.
10 minus 6.
All right, very good. That is 4. Now, class, is the variable alone? No. Just the boys. What is not allowing M to be alone?
2.
What about the 2? Divide by 2. Always tell me what operation. How do I get rid of divide by 2? Multiply by 2, because that's the inverse, or that's the opposite. In order to do that, we just do multiply by 2, which basically means multiply by 2 over 1, but you don't have to put that. And then I've got to do it to the same thing on the right-hand side. What happens to this side, girls? M times 2 divide by 2.
It cancels out.
They do. They cancel out, so they are no longer there. And what's left on the left side, girls? Just plain old M equals, and boys, what does M equal?
8.
8 is correct. Box it in. And now we're going to check it. Who would like to check it for me? Let me have Janet. Drop down that equal sign and tell us what to do.
M over 2 plus 6 equals 10. But you have to take out the M and add an 8.
You are correct. We're going to put an 8 in there. And then work from left to right, Janet. What's 8 divided by 2?
It's
4. And then we're just going to drop everything else down. And now let's work on the left side. What is 4 plus 6? 10. Class, does 10 equal 10?
Yes.
Yes, it does. Very good. So a new idea that I want to bring in here is something we've learned before. Combine the like terms before solving. So I want you to look over here on the left side. Can those terms be combined?
Yes.
Yes, because they're both in the y family, they're considered like terms. Nehemiah, what is 3y minus 8y? That is correct. Negative 5y. Drop down your equal sign, and it equals 25. Cameron, what is not allowing the y to be alone?
The negative.
What about it?
The negative, negative 5y.
Okay, remember, whenever we've got this guy right here, the number next to the letter, what does that mean?
Multiply.
Multiply. So multiply by negative 5 is not letting it be alone. So how do I get rid of that, Cameron?
Oh.
Okay, now listen. I don't want to divide just by 5. You're going to always divide by whatever is here. What number is there, Cameron? Negative 5. So that means we have to actually divide by negative 5 on both sides. Madison, what is negative 5y divided by negative 5? It's what? It is 1y. And then what about the right-hand side, Madison? What's 25 divided by negative 5? Negative 5. And that's our correct answer. In order to check it, we will, the first thing says 3 times y. Instead, I'm going to put 3 times negative 5. Bring down my minus sign, and instead of having here 8 times y, I'm going to put 8 times negative 5. And then we know it equals 25. Now we're just going to work from left to right. So this first one right here, what is 3 times negative 5?
Negative 15.
Negative 15. Drop down your minus sign. And the next one here says 8 times negative 5. What is that, class?
40.
Negative 40 equals 25. Do you guys remember what it's called when you have two negatives side by side?
Yeah.
A double negative. What happens to a double negative? It becomes a positive. So now we know, drop down your equal sign, this 25 has to come down right here. And let's work from left to right. Same sign or different sign? Different signs. Subtract and take. All right. The correct answer is 25 equals 25. The next one, remember we're talking about combining like terms. Are there any like terms I can combine on the left side right now?
Yes.
What are they?
Positive 4 and 3.
The constants. I love that you use that word, okay? The 4 and the positive 3 can combine together, okay? And then this little plus 2y, that's just going to drop down. So let's drop down the 2y. And then what's 4 plus 3? 7. All right, now we have what looks like a normal two-step equation. Harmony, what should I do first? What's not allowing my y to be alone? So the first thing we see here is multiply by 2 is not allowing that y to be alone. What else, Harmony, is not allowing it to be alone? All right, so the add by 7 is also not allowing us to. Guys, what should I get rid of first?
The 7.
What about the 7? Add by 7. Okay, you got to tell me what operation we're doing. How do I get rid of add by 7? You subtract by 7. What you do to one side, you must do to the other side. Okay, so this right here cancels out. Haley, what am I left with on the left side? Just a 2y. Equals, what does it equal, guys?
16. No, 16.
Okay, 16 or negative 16?
It's positive. It's positive. Oh. Positive 16.
All right, let's remember. Same sign, add and keep, different sign, subtract and take. Do I have same sign or different sign? Same sign. Add the numbers, keep the sign. What do you get? Negative 16. Am I done? Can I box it in and be finished? No, why not? The y is not by itself yet. What's not allowing the y to be alone?
Multiply by 2.
Multiply by 2. Charbel, how do I get rid of multiply by 2?
Divide by 2.
I got to divide by 2 on both sides. This cancels out. Y equals, Hunter, what's it equal? Negative 8 is correct. Now we have officially solved because y is all by itself. All right, who would like to check it for me? Let me have Nehemiah.
You bring down the equal sign, and then you put 4. You put 4 plus 2 2y plus 3 equals negative 9.
Very good. What do I plug in for my y?
Negative 8.
Okay, and should I just set it right there next to it?
No.
What should I do?
Put parentheses around
Put parentheses around it because 2y means 2 times y. All right, so let's just work from left to right. As you can see, we're going to drop down the 4. Nehemiah, what is 2 times negative 8?
negative 16.
Negative 16. So I'm just going to write minus 16 and bring down your plus 3. Now, once again, we're going to be working from left to right, but sometimes it's nice just to combine the positives and negatives together. So, Nehemiah, what's 4 plus 3?
7.
7. And then what would 7 minus 16 be?
Negative 9.
Negative 9. And then we're going to take this one right here and go ahead and drop down our negative 9. And negative 9 does, in fact, equal negative 9. Okay, so a lot of times when we have fractions, 7th graders get really scared of them and don't know what to do. So I'm going to teach you today a way that you can actually eliminate or get rid of your fraction before you solve it. The first thing you got to do is look at the largest denominator. Which number is bigger, the 8 or the 2? The 8 is bigger, okay? So now what you got to do is see, can this 2 fit into an 8, yes or no? Yes, and then also that 2 can fit into that 8 too. If all the denominators can fit into that biggest number, then that's called your LCD. That's your lowest common denominator. So it's the lowest number that all of the numbers can fit into. Now, if I want to get rid of that divide by 8, because I don't want fractions anymore, how do I get rid of divide by 8, class? We do the opposite. We multiply by 8. So what I want you to do for each and every single term that we have here, we're going to go ahead and multiply by 8. Now, if I'm going to multiply the first one by 8, I've got to multiply the second one by 8, and I have to multiply the last one by 8. Remember, my goal here is to eliminate the fractions. Basically, I want to get rid of the fractions. That's what eliminate means. So now we're going to work this out, and you can get rid of those fractions. Right here, looking at this first one, x times 8 divided by 8. What does that equal?
4.
Guys, what's 8 divided by 8? 1, okay? So these cancel out right there, and what's left there? Just plain old x. What sign should I bring down? Subtraction. Next up, let's look at this. Is there anything that I can cross-reduce?
Yes.
Yes. What happens to the 2 and the 8? It becomes a 4 over a 1. Now let's check. I've got 1 times 4 divided by 1. What do I get? 4. Drop down your equal sign. Is there anything over here that can cross-reduce?
Yes.
Yes. What does the 2 and 4 or the 2 and 8 become?
4 and 1.
A 4 and a 1. Now let's look at what we've got here. I am multiplying a negative times a positive. Is my answer going to be positive or negative?
It's going to be negative.
It will be negative. And then what's 7 times 4?
28.
28. If you divide it by 1, you still get the same thing. Now, is my x all by itself?
No.
No, not yet, but I have found a way to get rid of all my denominators. This x minus 4 equals negative 28 means the same exact thing as this up here. Those mean the same thing. We just got rid of the denominators, okay? Now, what's not allowing x to be by itself? Minus 4. What can I do to get rid of minus 4? Add 4 to both sides. This cancels out. Charbel, what's left on the left side?
X.
X equals, and then we're just looking at the right side. Same sign or different sign, class? Different sign. Subtract and take. So what's negative 28 plus 4?
Negative 24.
Negative 24. You have to subtract them and then take the sign of the larger number. Okay, for today, we're not going to check it, but the correct answer is x equals negative 24. All right, let's go over to the second problem. Look for your largest denominator. Class, what's the largest denominator? 4, okay? Can this 2 fit into that 4? Yes. Now, technically, what's the denominator over here? A 1. That means divide by 1. Can a 1 fit into a 4?
Yes.
Yes, it can, okay? So my greatest Denominator there is the 4, so that makes it my LCD, my lowest common denominator. How do I get rid of divide by 4?
Multiply by 4.
Multiply by 4. Now remember what I said. What you multiply, you have to be fair and multiply everything. So I'm going to multiply this one by 4, multiply that one by 4, and multiply that one by 4. Okay? So let's just go ahead and work from left to right. Drop down your equal sign. Let's do this part first. What's negative 6 times 4?
Negative 24.
Negative 24 is correct. Let's look at this section right here. Is there anything that can cross reduce?
Yes.
Yeah, once it all cancels out, what am I left with? 1 W. Okay, drop down your minus sign. What am I left with over here? Can I cross reduce anything? The 2 and 4 become what? 1 and 2. So what does it become? 2W over 1. Okay, because look, whenever you have these W's here, you can't just get rid of them. We got to keep them there. All right, working from left to right, I'm going to drop my equal sign. Drop the negative 24. And can anything be combined over here, class? Yes, what is 1W minus 2W?
Negative W.
Negative 1W. Now, is my W all by itself? No. What is there in front of it, class? Multiply by negative 1. How do I get rid of multiply by negative 1?
Divide by negative 1.
Divide by the same exact thing that's there. So we're going to divide by negative 1 on both sides. All right, so class, what is negative 24 divided by negative 1?
No, 24.
24, because when you are dividing two negative numbers, it's going to equal a positive. What's negative 1W divided by negative 1?
What W?
Just plain old W. Is W now by itself?
Yes.
Yes, so you can rewrite it from left to right. W equals 24. Final problem of the day, think, pair, share. First things first, what do I have to get rid of here, guys?
The 5. The 5.
What about the 5?
Add 5.
Plus 5. How do I get rid of plus 5? Subtract 5, and I'm left with 4x equals negative 2. How do I get x by itself?
Divide by 4.
Divide by 4. This cancels out. Now listen, a lot of you then said, negative 2 divided by 4 equals negative 2. Well, guys, that is not the case. 4 divided by 2 is 2. But what is this reduced? Negative 1/2 was the correct answer. So, Hunter and Janet, you guys may go ahead and grab a piece of candy. All right, so finally, this is tonight's homework. There are just 8 problems. Good job today, guys.